Coming at you live from my home studio in beautiful La Puente, California. This is the All Dodgers podcast. Happy Thursday to everybody here. We are a show that is part of the Believe Network podcast. What is going on, Clint Nation? Happy Dodgers off day to you. Happy August 1st to you. The Dodgers can't disappoint us today. They are off. But on today's show, it's that time of the month. It is the first of the month, so that means we're doing our Dodger takeaways. We're giving our grades for the month of July, and spoiler alert, it was not a very good month. Our friend Gritty Scott Geirman is joining the show for some honest Dodgers talk on another edition of All Dodgers Live. Before we get into it, my name is Clint Pasillas. Find me as Real FRG on the social media platforms. If you don't mind, hit the like button, share this show with people if you don't mind as well. Best place to hang out with us is here on YouTube. Get those comments in. That's about it. I told you the important things. I got one last important thing to tell you about, and that's BetOnline. It's the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. And right now, listeners of this show can get a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from those Olympics, from the baseball, the Formula One, and so on and so forth. There's also much more. They have every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while games are being played. And if there's not a game going on, head on over to their online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker, or unwind with over 150 slot games available at your fingertips. So head to the website today, get in on the action, use promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAV. You get that 50% free bet credit on your first deposit, again, up to $250. Bet online. The game starts here. And the show starts now with our friend Gritty Scotty G hanging out with us. How you doing, bud? Happy August to you, my friend.
Yeah, happy August to you, buddy. July was a month. That was one of the months of Dodger baseball. It's a good day. It's good to have a reset. This was a busy week. I know I've been off the grid for a couple days, since the deadline. It was good to kind of have a breath of fresh air. Didn't get a chance to catch last night's game, though. Saw the condensed, but that's about it. And I'm kind of glad I did. It just wrapped up what was a very roller coaster month. But, guys, I know there's a lot to be upset about, but there's also a spot to take a step back, reset, and realize there's a lot more to come.
Yeah. This is all part of the long story of a 162-game season, the long story of a hopefully championship season. This is the ups and downs, and every once in a while you watch a movie, it's not always just perfect for your protagonist, right? Sometimes there are points that frustrate you. There are points where in the movie you're like, why is Dave Roberts taking out Justin Robleski right now? Those points happen in movies all the time. There's also points where we got to take a moment here, send some quick thoughts and prayers, of course, to the Freeman family. Chelsea, Freddie's wife, did drop an update a little while ago on social media about their son Max, who is going through it right now. Of course, that's where Freddie has been away from the team. If we're looking at this from a baseball perspective, obviously the Dodgers not having Freddie Freeman has been very tough, but you're looking at this from a human perspective, what Freddie is going through, and that kind of still, him playing through some of that. It's an extremely tough situation there. What is it? I don't know if it's Julian or how to pronounce it, but Guillain-Barré syndrome. I just look up,
heartbreaking stuff.
And obviously, Scott, you as a father, I'm imagining like there's got to be no worse feeling knowing like there's nothing I can do right now outside of just
absolutely
hope. Yeah.
And for if you're a parent out there, you just think about things that are have levels above it. This is bigger than baseball. This is something where take all the time you need, Freddie, Chelsea. We were, sending our best, everybody. There's things, just like we said, things bigger than baseball, things bigger than sport. Family comes first. You do anything for your kid. I would do anything for my daughter. Parents in here, you understand. You move mountains if you could to save your kids. So for all what we know so far, Maximus is doing better. And right now we're just going to keep hoping and everybody out there, you can send your prayers. Don't thinking about him. Freddie,
Absolutely.
take your time, man. Freeman family, we're all thinking about you. Dodger Nation's behind you.
And we know Dodgers, the team itself as well. They are going to be all aboard with Freddie, whatever he needs. For Freddie Freeman to sit out any stretch of time is insanity for somebody like him. So clearly this is something that is quite insane. Joe Mama in the chat, great username for the moment here, but says not mad at Freddie at all. Freddie, our family always comes first. A lot of love in the chat for the Freeman family. But all right, I don't know if there's we're going from there's some positive, obviously, the update there was positive from Chelsea. It's still, heartbreaking to know all that, but we're going from one down, one tough thing to another. Well, we're talking about the Dodgers and we're talking about the month of July, as I'll bring the chat here into the stream, the show here. Actually, people can see it. July, not very good. The worst month the Dodgers have had since, April of 2018.
2018.
Very beat up team. There's so many angles you can go with it. There's some questionable decisions, both roster wise, in-game decision wise. What's your biggest takeaway from the month of July?
What you said is it's the first time in a long time, and to that stat, the first time I've seen them, be outscored. For runs scored, 104, runs allowed, 137. Sub 500, just like you said, first time since 2018. I was listening to Kate's last night on the drive home from my other job, and I heard that stat, and I was like, it makes a lot of sense. But it's also remarkable the consistency that they have, and it just proves that this Dodgers organization, the franchise, has that ability to win 100 games without even thinking about it, because they're going to be in the plus. So it's kind of a chilling feeling to look at where they're at now, how many players are off, not with the team, injuries, away from the team, Freddie, pitchers that aren't there, and how many variables there are to a roster and what can go wrong. And I think this is the one that I think has made everybody mad. We've seen the Dodgers blow, three leads of 5 runs or more within, I think it was 15 days, somewhere in that stretch there. So one against the Astros, one last night, or 2 nights ago. And it's stuff that's just maddening. It just makes all of the issues seem that much worse there. And we're just going to keep teasing, my big, what to take away here. And I know I saw Kenny talk us off the ledge. I'm going to do my best because usually Blake and I are the ones, Clint, you're the same way. You're not afraid to say, what's going wrong. Something's going wrong, because that's why we're here. We'll criticize something if it's a pressing issue. But there's definitely a reason to be optimistic, because this isn't the team that we're going to be seeing in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and I think we're going to get more into that in a little bit. That's the big message to drive home. It's like what we're seeing right now, like I already said it a minute ago, this is just part of the story. This is your the search party separated. Now I'm getting into some sort of weird B horror movie or something like that, and a couple of your guys went and got kidnapped or something like that. But eventually the whole team is going to get back together. Hey, it's so good, positive-ish on the injury front that we even got good Max Muncy news out of nowhere, out of the blue, honestly. So this is just about weathering the storm, and I think the important thing is the organization kind of knows that clubhouse understands it's about weathering the storm at this moment in time. That said, this is not a team without its concerns, without its struggle points, and one area where, for the greater part, I would say everybody is kind of there. All the guys that we anticipate are going to be the guys in October are there. That is the bullpen, and that's, we do, as part of this series, we do our where of our opinions changed, from the last month, or even from our first edition of these back in April or whenever the hell it was. But for me, by far the bullpen biggest fall off, 5.65 ERA in July, 5th worst in baseball. Evan Phillips looks lost. Alex Vesia, people very concerned about that. The velocity's down. Some folks calling for a little break for him. Blake Trinan suddenly looks mortal. Is this all a symptom of the state of the starting pitching, or do you think there's actually more to it than that?
I mean, every time we look at the bullpen, we wonder if they are taxed, if the starting rotation is giving them enough length. Is this bleeding into it? Because a thing that I've talked about, and we've been on this show, we've been on Dodgers territory, there's a number of veteran arms. They're older guys that you cannot push to the limits so much so early in the season. They're coming off some injuries here. Daniel Hudson was close to retiring. Blake Trinan, had for different stretches. He's pitching for the longest time he had in a few years.
Yeah.
So right now, it's just a lot of stress. And it's great that you brought in Michael Kopech. You're getting a few arms on the farm that are coming back. Brusdar Graterol, he had a rough outing the other day, but results are, all relative when it comes to, actually getting yourself, I got my picture back for I can see you finally clear. It was all messed up. But we're getting Brian Brazier, his look good. Like there's arms in the, in AAA, in the minor leagues, rehabbing currently that are going to give, a breath of fresh air. Michael Grove, same thing. Yep. Although I'd prefer they keep him to a 1-inning guy, and he's really working on a refined mix here, so we could see a different Michael Grove, hopefully. I would like to see them stick him in a 1-inning role.
Leave him there, please.
Yeah, leave him there. Set it and forget it. It's like, they obviously know things more than we do, and we look at some just single-inning outings from him, and he's been good in spurts. But it all bleeds into each other. And I saw somebody in chat saying that the rookies are giving more length than the veterans.
Yeah, honestly.
Is it something that they have something to prove? Is it the stuff? Is it just, the league not knowing a lot about him? We can just say yes. Like all those things factor into each other. And it's also a good problem to have because I still do believe that, at the front end of the rotation, it's going to be Tyler Glass now. Now Jack Flaherty's in the mix there. So 2 guys you can bank on. We're going to see. Can I ask you real quick about Gavin Stone, or we can just backlog this for later in the show?
I'm in.
Do you think that he needs to have a little bit of a breath? Do you think they need to pull the reins back a bit?
I think it's worth exploring at this point. I think his ERA was over 6 in July as well. Did not look good, did not look as crisp, and this is the most he has thrown in his career, at least as a big leaguer. I can understand him getting a little gassed. We saw this a few years back with somebody like Ross Stripling, who came on one of my old shows telling me, straight up, I got gassed in the second half of that season. Well, I mean, we're looking at Stoner, not even the second half of the season yet, and him getting a little gassed. So it could just be something where it's mechanical or whatever, but you would like to see them kind of bake in as Dave will call it, bake in a blow. But with that in mind, the middle of this month, this team didn't have Tyler Glasnow. They liked James Paxton so little, they did what we kind of assumed and found a way to get rid of him. And then it was the children coming up. We say children, like River Ryan's 26, about to be 27 in like 18 days or whatever. So maybe not a child there. But they bring up the young folks. Like they don't have the luxury of giving Gavin Stone some time off right now. But that said, if we're talking about another, like if there's 1A is the bullpen for me and 1B is kind of Gavin Stone, he's fallen out of my postseason rotation at this point. Not that my opinion matters, but I think it's something that is concerning, for
Absolutely,
now and moving forward.
Yeah, no, and you make some good points there, and there's stuff we could dig into about him. And he's been effective. There's nothing taking it away from Gavin Stone. 25 years old, he's rebounded back, and he's been, going into the break was somebody that you look on and you say, hey, this is one of the better arms in Major League Baseball for just the production wise. You can absolutely draw concerns to his strikeout rate and if that's going to play longer down the stretch, and that's fine. But a lot of the times you check in with people, they just want guys who are going to get outs. And he was getting outs. You keep pointing. I point back to the start in New York. Big time atmosphere, big moment. He allowed 8 hits, only allowed 2 earned runs, had 6 punch. And it just, for me, that was a moment where I was like, he's got it. He's got that, same type of thing I said about Robleski filling up the zone. He's got moxie. And that, my saying for that, I know I heard Joe Davis say it, but I was like, Joe, buddy, we've been on the moxie train since we saw Yamamoto do it. But I'm a believer in Gavin Stone. It's hard to not be just because of the rebound that he's had. And for the run he's had in July, just like you said, I think somebody mentioned in chat, he's had a 6.27 ERA, 6.16 FIP. So there are some concerns there. Maybe there's some defensive issues, but at the end of the day, he's got about a 5.8 K per 9, and he's just allowing a little bit too much contact. He's got to find a way to miss some bats there because there will be some variability with it. You're going to get BABIP'd if that's going to happen when you're not missing bats. So I wanted to make sure we brought that up just because Gavin Stone has made his starts, and it's about a rotation that last year they didn't have everybody that made the starts. And I remember speaking with you and Alana on domestic opening day about who I thought. And I said, I think Paxton's going to be a key piece.
Yeah.
He was a key piece because he made every single start.
Yeah,
and that's something that's super valuable to this rotation. So now you're getting into the nitty gritty and who's going to be there all the time. And I think we can just be thankful that Gavin Stone's going out there and not giving them any more issues right in the heart of the rotation, you know?
Yeah, and on Stone, you mentioned the pitch to contact, which is great for, getting him deep into games. Low pitch count, ideally less stressful innings. But on the other hand, I think one of the big issues this team kind of – there was sort of like a call, I don't know how to quite word this. The Dodgers didn't vocalize it, but there was a very clear defensive issue with this ball club, and we saw it growing more and more with Andy Pajes in the outfield. We saw, you missed it. Thankfully, lucky for you, you missed Kershaw's outing yesterday in San Diego, but he did not get any help, and I think a lot of the team has not got a whole lot of help. A lot of the pitching staff hasn't gotten a whole lot of help from the defense in recent weeks, and I think that's where we get into under 200 Kevin Kiermaier being somebody this team is interested in bringing aboard. Somebody also like Tommy Edman, who has an insane glove. I think defense is an area they identified as a significant weakness, and that's leading to all of these ERAs ballooning and pitchers having issues and not getting deep into games, because even with Kershaw in the first inning, as good as Lux has been, he had a bad throw in the first inning, and all of those pitches, especially for somebody like Kershaw, at this point in his recovery, all those pitches add up, and these professional hitters, somebody like the Padres who want to destroy the Dodgers, they get added opportunities, extra opportunities, free outs. They are going to capitalize, and that's the thing that has really, really burned this Dodgers. Not even just the bullpen, just the entire pitching staff as a whole, which was not very good in July. And you see the numbers. that kind of spell that out.
Different level of motivation playing against the Padres. When I spoke with you and Scotty Braun on DT, I really gave credit to AJ Preller. And, Dodger fans, people talk year in and year out about how they want Andrew Freeman to go out and make the deal. And I'll stress again, it's great when you're in a luxury position where you feel a closer is your last thing to get. And it always will be that. And I'll draw a comparison back to the 2016 Cubs when they made their World Series run. We can break that down if Aroldis Chapman was actually the piece, but he was a big piece to getting them there. So it's a matter of, is that the piece you need? And for the Padres team, where you have a couple guys in your starting lineup who are overachieving, you have Profar having a career year, you have a solid catching rotation that's working out for you. You've got some guys. You've got, Xander's been working his way back. Machado's, looks healthy again. It's a team that is even playing without Fernando Tatis, so they have the motivation to go do that. They have two horses at the front of the rotation. Matt Waldron's a contributor. They've got guys. So if it's starting rotation piece, if they feel they have enough there and they want to shorten some games, you bring in two arms. And that, for a Padres team, those are your moves to make. And I respect it. It'll look like a lot, but if this is where you feel your window's at, and it might be because Profar is going to leave unless they bring him back. I don't know how they'll do it, but they've got and Hassan Kim, same thing. So if this is their window, they go do that. For anybody who thinks that the Dodgers were in a position, they're in a need to do it because they don't have that guy. A high leverage closer is terrific to get, but the number one guy in the market could not be your first option. But people can put in the chat, damn right. If you loved what you saw to Michael Kopech, you like what you saw, that's gas. He's chucking the pill. So they attacked it a different way. It's just anyone thinking the Dodgers can go get that number one closer on the market, they shifted and got the number one starting pitcher, which was an even bigger need.
Yeah, and I mean, arguably, they have one of the top closers in baseball. Evan Phillips, there's just something wrong right now, whether he's tipping, whether he's gassed, whether there's a little injury in there, maybe some effects still from that hamstring. There's something very clearly wrong, but we know the stuff is there. We know he can be a one-dot guy when he's right.
Absolutely, man.
This is, again, more part of this story. He also was burned. I think he got used to that ninth inning role. I would almost argue it a little bit, and then we see them kind of shift him out of that ninth inning role a little bit. Dave, even before the serious struggles happened, Dave kind of throwing them into, worry more about those the matchups and all of that, as opposed to traditional old school baseball. You pitch your inning, and then the next guy comes in and pitches his inning, and maybe Phillips wasn't ready to be that fireman guy anymore, always needing to face the top of the lineup or the heart of the lineup. But are you like seriously worried about EP if we're talking about him for a second, or you think he figures it out?
I think the front office knows that there's something going on with him. He's have some pretty drastic splits against left-handed hitters right now. To the point where if there is another guy available, if Daniel Hudson's in a spot where there's a string of left-handed hitters up and you need someone else, I would prefer to go to Daniel Hudson over Evan Phillips. If there's two lefties, if it's 2 of 3 lefties, I go to Daniel Hudson over that. Just because it's so drastic right now, and Evan Phillips has relied on his cutter to lefties so much, and it's just not working. Something's going on. But Blake Williams, managing editor over at DB, he had some good points that I would prefer them keep him with the big club instead of finding a spot in AAA for him. I would prefer him to work it out at the big league level. And if you're going to fail, you're going to fail, because you have to remember, guys, like Evan Phillips is a DFA candidate. People don't like when Freeman dumpster dives. Evan Phillips, they transformed him into a top 3 reliever from the scrap heap. And they do it year in and year out. They find people. Anthony Banda, same thing.
Alex Vesia was kind of that guy.
Vesia, same type of deal. They got him in a trade, buy low guy, figured him out. And here you go. They just have the formula, man. Brent Honeywell has had some success as well. So they're just continuing to do it. It's something I've brought up, that they have a formula working. It's just right now, it's just peculiar that 2 guys like Blake Trinan, Evan Phillips, both have cutters that they rely on a lot to lefties, and they've been getting dinged on a bit. Evan Phillips a little bit more of a longer run on that, on getting touched up, but it's just they've got to figure something out with some of their their horses down there.
Yeah, and we got another month. We got another 2 months to let them figure it out. Although they're still trying to figure it out in September, I'd have some real significant worries. They would be even bigger than they are right now. But it's going to come down to, for me, it's going to come down to the starting rotation, kind of figuring it out. These guys need to more routinely get into the 5th inning, let alone the 6th and 7th inning and all of that. That just goes so much further, and not needing to overexpose these guys. And I think that's part of this whole hodgepodge of issues for the bullpen. They were overexposed and also tired. You mentioned earlier with Trinan, missed the better part of 2 years. He's tired. He is absolutely extremely tired at the moment. But we can obviously go in for hours on end on the bullpen and every little issue and nuanced issue or not nuanced issue with this team. But we were asked very early in the stream, somebody talk us down from the ledge. So in the sake of trudging forward on this, I want some words of wisdom from you. Start us off here. Temper some expectations for this team that's coming off of its worst month in 5-6 years, and going into this month with a renewed hope, with 5 new guys on the roster and all of this. Like, how does this all come together, and where will this team be when we're talking again on this channel in a month?
Sure. So again, coming out from the trade deadline, it was a big boost. I think all fans, looked on, and people talking about winners and losers. The Dodgers were looked on as a winner of the deadline because you were able to get that front end guy. You attacked needs. And I think from early on, I felt a great deal of validation, just because a huge talking point, people that are regulars that have been listening to me and all that, I've been, pumping up that you just have to raise the floor. You just have to find a way. It's been an uncomfortable feeling for me as of, prior to me joining, sports journalism. You find these things out about the Dodgers and you look at them. What do they do best? Okay, well, they find role players and platoon guys that have just an ability to be better and to be well above league average just at their one job. And if you even look back 2 years ago, when you have guys like Matt Beatty, Edwin Rios, it's just multiple players. I know for all the memes and the things that they are, and they just, when they fizzle out, but they're able to bottle up some of that success and turn it into plus performance. So why we should be optimistic is that going into the 2 games against the Padres, immediately you go out and put up 5 runs. And I remember tweeting out, I'm going to just lie to myself and say that this is just an emotional boost, and then it all poofed. And it made me think, hey, everybody's got to calm down. We saw the panic. I wasn't on that post-game show, thankfully. But having to look at the roster now is the same exact roster that put up that 11-13 record in July. The same exact team. Nothing changed. Nobody got brought in. Ahmed Rosario's not playing. Tommy Edman wasn't available. And who else? Kevin Kiermaier.
Yeah, Kiermaier.
So we're talking about a team that has some platoons to figure out. Gavin Lux has made us believers, all of us. He looks better. He's hitting in a spot where he looks more comfortable, and a breath of fresh air during the All-Star break changed him, and that's just what happens. We talked about needing that. You need some stability. We're getting closer to Mookie Betts coming back. You're getting closer to Max Muncy. Just had a breakthrough. We'll see when he swings a bat. So you're going to get 2 essentially superstar level guys. And when Freddie Freeman, when stuff hopefully stabilizes with his family, hopefully, and his son Max, hopefully we see him back with the team. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But you're getting 3 more options now, where it's players with back of the baseball card stuff.
Yep.
I love that too. So Ahmed Rosario has no splits this year, right? So he's batting over 300 for, our batting average fans. You're talking about a guy who can play multiple positions now. We don't know what we're getting out of Miguel Rojas, so we'll see when we get there as well. But what I like for Tommy Edman is I like the move so much because it provides you with insurance at shortstop now, center field now, and you're getting a Gold Glove defender. And it provides them insurance next year if the Dodgers don't. This is something you don't want to hear. It provides them insurance next year at shortstop if you can't land one of those guys, Ha-Seong Kim, Willy Adames. It gives you that protection then as well. So you're going to get, if Tommy Edman is your 8-hitter, I love it. Now let's get Jason Hayward in there on a platoon. Figure out what you're doing with Andy Pages. If Rosario and Jason Hayward will be your platoon, awesome, because you're going to get Mookie Betts back. Lux, for all intents and purposes, looks like he's dialed in, doing a bunch different. We love it. Max Muncy, same thing. I really am curious what's going on with Will Smith, but
not talked about enough.
So I'm way more optimistic just because we haven't seen this in a few years about such a depletion from the offense. It's been the pitching that has just been kind of the one thing, and they've had to hit themselves into wins. I'm just going to wait a few weeks until we see Mookie back, and then we get a big update on Muncy when he suits up, hits the field. And then now we're going to start seeing what this team's all about. And maybe, Clint, they get hot at a better time than they have in years past, that they all start to get healthy, because it's always been peaking way too early, and then they coast. And then where's the fire that Dave Roberts has to manufacture? No, it's got to come from just a clean bill of health, because right now, these guys are failing so much at the bottom of the order that there is no constant production. So that's my reason to be optimistic from the guy who has been absolutely hammering the team all year whenever I can, because it's been needed. It's been a very weird year for the Dodgers.
Yeah, you generally don't survive very well when you miss your MVP front runner, and then the guy that took his job while he was out with Miguel Rojas, who you mentioned him for a second there. Like, you really hope that this layoff and the forearm issue doesn't affect the kind of lightning that struck that bottle for the first few months of the season, because I think this team was really banking on Miggy Rowe being that shortstop in October, and then leaning into what I was saying earlier about like Kiermaier and Edman, that clear focus on defense being a problem, defense needing to be improved, because we've also seen this team get beat defensively in the postseason as well. I saw somebody much earlier in the chat mention, like, are we going to talk about Andy Pages? Andy Pages needs to go back to AAA at this point. I was so high on the kid, but the defense is really eroded. The bat isn't there anymore. The quality of pitch selection is kind of diminished. So I think he's kind of run his course at the moment. Doesn't mean he's not going to be an important piece for this team down the road, but they pull the plug on him a little bit earlier than they do on Outman, of course, but Jimmy Outman not the answer for this year. So you look at these guys, you look at Kiermaier, where if they can get anything out of that bat, it makes up such a difference just in what he provides defensively. So you feel good there.
Yeah.
Kind of a little, but just all these pieces, if everything kind of falls in line, I feel really confident about this team moving forward as I sort of try to get my, thought track back on track there, because again, there's 15 different ways, and that's been the situation for the last month and a half. Like even leading up to, a month before the deadline, a few weeks before the deadline, it's like, how are they going to play these injuries? What's going to be the injury plan? Is Muncy going to be done for the whole year? And they kind of answered it with primarily the 3 position players they brought in, and these guys are here to provide insurance just about everywhere and give them a butt ton of options where if Max doesn't come back, okay, you have an Edman. If Pages doesn't figure it out, or there's another injury in the outfield, or CT3 doesn't come out, you have somebody like Edman or Kiermaier who can go in the outfield. Rosario could maybe play some third. He's played a little outfield for the Rays this year. Can maybe play some second base. Please don't put him at shortstop. They gave themselves all of these options where not all of these guys are going to be, maybe not even any of the guys they picked up are going to be a part of the postseason roster. But you like all of the stuff they did to set themselves up for that future success that we've been missing. And I'll add one more thing. You're talking earlier about the Padres, and you're talking about the struggles the Dodgers have had when they've just been able to kind of waltz into the postseason. I've been barking about it for the last couple of years. I want to see this team have to struggle to make the postseason. The Padres picked up 4 games in the standings in July, and they also picked up the best available closer at the deadline. They are going for it, like you did. Hat tip to AJ Preller for going for it, because he sees his job on the line there in San Diego. He doesn't have Peter Seidler to protect him anymore. All of that, give me the competition in the NL West. Let this team actually have to fight for something. Last time they made it out of the NLDS, they had a fight to beat the Giants, and they just lost there in that last game, but they won the most important game. Lost regular season, won the most important game in the NLDS, but that also gassed them. So there's a lot there. I was gonna actually, it was so funny you bring that up, and talking about having to fight a little bit, and it draws me back to when I was thinking, listening to Tim Case last night on AM 570, is that I want them to get into a spot where the guys are coming in. We're gonna get Mookie Betts back, Max Muncy. I think Max Muncy, it's a very odd thing that Max Muncy immediately trade deadline pass, we get the thing. Well, that's something that I hope they do a 30 for 30 about. But magic chiropractor, bro, I'm telling you.
Magic chiropractor. So we get them back, right? So now you're getting 2 big slots in. It's the same stuff that we watched, and it wasn't working out for a ton of the options that they had. And I see people again in chat talking about it, that there was no fire with these guys. There was nothing doing different. There's nothing at all. You're just praying somebody has an uptick. There was no fire on the from the bench. There was nobody coming up. You're like, we believe in this guy. He's going to come through right here because he's done it. So that's something uncomfortable. That's something Dodgers front office is not used to having. Dave Roberts is in a spot, or I'm not saying an impossible spot, but he's in a spot where he's working with a team that is so top heavy that once it gets to the bottom of the lineup, you're like, please. Ahmed Rosario, Kevin Kiermaier, Tommy Edman, fix this. So James Outman, Austin Barnes. You've got James Outman, Austin Barnes, Nick Ahmed, Kike Hernandez, Kevin Biggio, Andy Pages, and Jason Hayward to work with. And none of those guys are really separating themselves from everything. So you're having to work with a unit that has just been so different and having to mix and match so much that they need some stability. Yeah. So I think that the guys they brought in will bring some stability. They have some stuff that they can work on. Tommy Edman's going to provide. Everybody looks at his bat and they're saying, oh, they didn't get a 120 WRC plus guy. He's not the best contributor in the world, but it's about finding a baseline that is not bad.
Yeah.
Because the baseline for Outman, the baseline for Barnes, Kike, Biggio, Pages, when it's not good, it's bad. It's not just average. It has been terrible. We're talking 60 WRC plus to 70, and they're going to fail more times than they're going to succeed. And it's not something where you look around and say the Padres, they have guys who have specific roles off the bench. The Dodgers are just in a beaten down spot. So I just want to make sure everyone tempers the expectations for the moment until we get to see it. It's going to get ugly, and we're in that ugly spot. Everybody says it gets uglier before it gets pretty. Yes. 11-13 for a Dodgers team that hasn't done that since 2018. 2018 is ugly. So this is the spot where you got to weather it. They've raised the floor. Roberts even said it. He said it on his pregame. I feel like we raised the floor. And then I was like, they know what the big real problem is here. It's the contributing role players that have just failed so much. So
I mean, for months of the season, and we'll include Lux in there for the fun of it, but for months of the season, we've seen dudes hitting 200 or less. I have the question. I'll throw at you, and we can both kind of workshop with it. And guys in the chat, we do want to find ways to integrate the chat in here a little bit more cleanly. But what is this August plan, and how does everything play out? How does it shake out when all of these pieces do come back? Because there could be a Muncy, there could be a Mookie, or there definitely will be a Mookie. There could be a Miguel Rojas. There could be a CT3 and all of that. But to go into what you're saying there, like, should CT3 get reps? Should Kike Hernandez be getting any more reps? Austin Barnes is obviously a guy that's going to be around. Kevin Biggio, how much longer does he have? How many more minutes does he have on this roster before he's DFA'd heading into Oakland or something like that, where he might survive just because of the Freddie Freeman situation? But how does August play out, and who are, in your opinion, who are the most glaring odd men out, including Pages, hey, let's throw in Jason Hayward in there?
What's really funny about, Kevin Biggio is, since, it's been really lopsided because of lately, but Kevin Biggio has been, his last few games, I would say his last 7 games have skewed it a lot. But since the beginning of July, he's a 152 WRC plus guy. So until that's how I'm going to look at it and say, and co-sign with you. He'll be around for a bit, I believe. But I'm really in the camp that we've really got to see a little bit from Kike. I know his big spot, it's been a hotbed topic for him because against Boston, he stepped up and he had some moments where it's like, okay, take a deep breath, everybody. Come on, listen. Kike has done this. He finds a moment, pulse there. He's been, I think, one of the top 50 pinch hitters in ball. Mm-hmm. So he's been good. Kike in spots has been good. But I think they'll err on that they have some optionality with sending guys down. I think James Outman gets sent down. I think Pages gets sent down. And then when you get your guys coming back, now Miguel Vargas is out of the situation, so you don't have to worry about, where is he going to play defensively? I think Tommy Edman, right when I heard the news about Edman, I was like, he could slot in center field and set it and forget it, and you can figure it out there. And then I think David Vassay co-signed that. So we're going to get at Tommy Edman in center.
Of course, the Kiermaier factor changes that, though, of course.
Without a doubt. Yes, absolutely. So if they want to start him, I don't agree with people bringing up the fact that, Kevin Kiermaier will just be another James Outman, because scenarios will absolutely change. It's when you're asking Outman to be a guy in a lineup that desperately needs people to step up, it's going to look worse than it is. But there hasn't been one at bat this year from James Outman, and I would say since he's been called up, that gives me any confidence that he's turned anything around. And it's no knock. He just looks overpowered right now. There's got to be a change in approach. So if you want to say, Kevin Kiermaier is going to play center field, I'm getting a Gold Glove, set it, forget it. And then Tommy Edman can slide around the field wherever. Rosario, I'm confident in. It was a target of mine before the deadline. Mookie Betts freed up, second base, Gavin Lux. I haven't looked at his splits yet. It's just, I think a lot's going to hinge on the health the health of Max Muncy, Mookie, how fast he gets up to speed. If we see Freddie Freeman, when does Will Smith bounce back? All these questions don't instill confidence, but for lineup continuity and what the Dodgers have lacked, that's where they're trending, and we have to bank on that. And they have a runway, but hopefully they don't lose out on first place. It's just, let's hope.
I mean, if this team falters enough, and maybe the Padres keep on streaking, even though I don't know if they're streaking, but they're playing well. They're definitely playing a lot better than the Dodgers, at least in July, 4 games better. Are you terribly upset? How does the fan base take the Dodgers losing the division to the Padres, and how insufferable would that be if the Padres usurp the Dodgers and win the NL West this year? Is that something that Dave can come back from? Or the fan base just pitchforks, torches, showing up to his house crying? How bad will that be?
I think everybody cares about October. I think that's all that,
That's
that
my
really
hope.
matters. I think you can sell. I think Dave Roberts is a hotbed name that you could just be like, no matter what happens, he could win a World Series. But if he does one thing wrong, they'll be like, yeah, but remember when he pulled Kershaw from, and that's all they'll think about. So people will say,
2019.
we do videos and you do videos. All Dodger media does videos, no matter what. The topic can be anything. We could do a video on like a charity thing and people will put like fire Dave Roberts. It's
Yep.
just how it goes. So I think that if they lose first place, but their health is in a good spot, I just want them to make it into the postseason with a plan and something that they're going, like we can see them rolling in with a little bit of fire, and Kate's brought up a good point last night that the Padres have something to play for. They've got something to play for. They're looking at that big brother and they're doing that. The Dodgers are like, okay, well, this was it. I found my thought again. The Dodgers look like they're playing with a depleted roster.
Yeah.
They look like they know that, like, you know what? Shrug, Jordan shrug, like, this is what we've got right now. What do we, what do we care?
It's just treading water right now. They're
treading water. Yeah. And
that's fine.
And if fans look at it like that and understand it, it looks ugly. And that's just how it is. They have to get it. You can't expect much more, but it doesn't look pretty. And the expectations there, it's just that we have to wait a few weeks. You have to wait a few weeks till the plan gets put in place, because it's easy to say they stink. What's up, chat? What's up, everybody? My bad. I forgot to say what's up earlier. But it's easy to just, lose yourself in the fact that the things look so bad. But there is just a ton that we have to wait and see on. So please take a breath. And if they don't make first place, it'll look different. I just want them to get in a good health spot and can't repeat the same issues that they had last year where the offense was down before they even stepped up to the plate. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no. A couple of things. I mean, there's so much to piggyback off of there.
Right.
I do want to get into the chat a little bit here. I appreciate Bob Nightingale always being in the chat here saying,
"Oh yeah, Bob."
James Outman looks worse than me in a skirt, and we'll go ahead and this is open mic night for him right there. I do have a good question on the Padres, or at least an insight or a take on the Padres here. But I do got to get to $20 super chat from our friend, the Right Field Pavilion. Thank you very much. It says, Clint, how much money do we need to raise to bring Scott over to the All Dodgers podcast? Scotty, hey, he's gonna be poached from Dodger Blue. Now listen, this man is free to talk everywhere, wherever he's needed, and maybe I'll buy him a beer the more often he's able to come around here. But always appreciate this guy coming on to this show. Always appreciate your insight, and you make my job so much easier when we're doing this, whether it's here, Dodgers territory. Whenever I talk to people about you, I was like, this is a smart motherfucker, man. Like
I always say, man, it's the same thing I say about Blake. We've got a show tonight. Once we wrap up here, I just like, we get to people just getting on here and chatting ball.
Yeah. That's what we're
try
about.
Not to, I'll do the best I can. I don't know everything. I know a lot of the numbers, and I'm not the best. Like, I can't photographic memory, but I just like getting on, talking ball, talking to chat.
It's about the feel.
The spot, man.
It's about the eye test. Hey, I liked your stuff in that spot. I like the compete from Scott Geirman right here. And I think the thing people appreciate the most from folks like us is we're not here to kiss the team's ass, any particular player's ass. No, we're just trying to keep it as raw, as real. We are fans. We also cover this, professionally. We make money out of covering this team in various ways, and so there's a little bit of something there. But the fact of the matter is, we're fans. We want to see this team do well, and if we don't see them do well, that's where we get into being, coming out here talking ball. That's what we're going to be here to do. We want to talk ball. We want to talk about, hey, what's wrong? What do we don't shit on Dave Roberts unless we think he needs to be shat upon, and none of this is on Dave. The decisions he makes with the bullpen, a lot of these guys should be going in and doing their damn jobs, but that's not on Dave. He's not going out there and grooving 92 down the middle so Manny could hit a homer and everybody's feeling like crap.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
it's the dog days where we're at. It's the same thing. I got my buddy Jacob, man. I hope he watches this back. I had multiple conversations that he's the biggest Clayton Kershaw fan. I've got multiple memories of going to sit at a bar by ourselves and watching Kershaw starts. That it's a spot where if there's a spot where Clayton Kershaw just doesn't have it, okay, and if he doesn't really rebound and he's just an average guy, you can't put himself in a spot where he's on your postseason, your front three. You just can't bank on that anymore. If you have a young arm, we saw how it worked out last year. And I think we're kind of off script, so I kind of want to pose this question to you, Clint.
I'm in.
Is that for where the Dodgers are at in their starting rotation, and how it happened last year, where there was just so many questions going in. You had 3 guys you weren't as confident in, right? So you went in and your offense was down before they really even had a chance. Okay. So your offense could have been great. It was historic, but they never had a shot. And I think right now they got to bank on stuff. They got to bank on who's got, earlier in the season, it was okay. Gavin Stone is the guy because he's been doing it for quite some time. And now he started to falter a bit. Glass now's got stuff. We've got River Ryan, who looks the part so far. Jack Flaherty, we'll see on Yamamoto. He's throwing his first bullpen tomorrow. So prayers to the health on that, that shoulder and how that bullpen goes, and we'll see. But they just need to align themselves, Clint, in a spot where you can feel confident that you can get outs. And it's just, if you're going to get outs, I don't want legacy starts. We are tired of the legacy stuff on this team, man.
Yeah, one of the things I said after all the trades or after the Flaherty trade went down, and combining that with what happened the day before, what I do love about this trade deadline is that not only, I mentioned the competition being important in the NL West and all that, and for this team, but the internal competition. People not feeling complacent with the fact, Kike Hernandez not feeling complacent with the fact that, oh yeah, I'm Kike Hernandez, I just get a roster spot because that's what I do. And Gavin Stone, as good as your first half was, I'm sorry, you need to prove that you deserve a roster spot here. Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech, Alex Vesia, all of these guys, Anthony Banda, the list can go on. Blake Trinan, Clayton Kershaw, all of these guys need to earn their roster spots. And Kershaw, more than anybody, I think, is the guy you look at when I hear you say legacy starts. I'm picturing Clayton Kershaw. I'm picturing 22 with the ball in his hand, or, slink down because of a homer or a bad outing or whatever. Like that can't happen again. If he's out there in game 1, 2, or 3 because, we like the matchup. No, it's because he earned it. He did something over these next 2 months, putting aside that Padre start. He did something over these next 2 months that said, hey, this, I deserve it. I've earned it. And it's not just because Yamamoto didn't come back or the back issue proved to be something to worry about with Jack Flaherty or whatever. Each one of these guys up and down that 26-man roster and beyond, it needs to be the best possible unit to attack whatever team in whatever postseason series this team's about to play. And whether that's Robleski being an opener or on the roster, or River Ryan or Landon Knack, whoever the F it is, they need to be on that roster, and we'll see where you fit in the next round. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm the same way. And with the last thing on Clayton, because I really hope, people tune in and you feel a certain type of way about 22, and I'm the same way. Like, Clayton Kershaw has given me some of the best baseball memories, and probably until I die, he'll be the best pitcher I'll ever watch. Yeah. And I'm comfortable saying that. And I think a lot of people would agree. It's just at a spot where Clayton Kershaw is one of 2 things. If he's on the postseason roster, and he can't be, it's that if he's there, it's not because he's average. Yeah. It will not because he's just okay. It'll because he dialed it in and he's pinpoint and he looks like it, or to the point where the starting rotation depth is so weak that they have to do it.
Which is what we saw last year.
And that's where we saw last year, which will be a remarkable position to be in with Clayton Kershaw, who we have no idea if he's going to be out there again. So it's one of 2 things with him. I think that this is the best year. And I see a lot of people in chat talking about Robleski, and that was the wrong move to send him down. And I agree with you guys just from a sense of, if you earn it, you earn it. And I think you should be there, but it's a numbers game at this point. And he's got, he's going to make a start once every 5-6 days. And the role for him down the stretch with where the lefties are, Vetsia's velocity is dipped heavily. I think he's a high, a live enough arm where he can go in the bullpen and do some damage. Big time.
Oh yeah.
Like absolutely. So he's going to be with the team. Rest assured, guys, like, sit tight. Like, he's got options. They can send him up, send him down, bring him, put him where he needs to be. And I think he's got that taste, and it works for guys that they go up, they say, okay. And then you get that moxie, and then you start pitching differently. Same thing with River Ryan, but I feel like River Ryan's got it. He's got 5+ pitches, brother. Like, that's he's an arm that, thank God for Matt Beatty. Thank you, AJ Preller. Thank goodness for Matt Beatty. I don't think I've ever said that out loud, but that's an arm that, again, hey, look what the Dodgers traded at the deadline. No arms, all position players. It's just so funny. They know it. They know that the front office knows and the development staff knows. They're just like, nah, you're not playing.
I'm gonna say it's very clear. Also, they don't listen to us because we've been saying the last 2 months about how bad they are at finding and creating position players. And how exceptional they are when it comes to pitching. Yet, for some reason, not a single pitcher gets traded at this deadline. Also, I'm always going to shout out my boy Matt Beatty, one of my favorite people that I ever had a chance to kind of talk to, get a little relationship with that guy. We appreciate him still, paying dividends to this team a little bit. So a lot of different things. I want to go back in the chat as well. There was one a little while ago when we were talking about the Padres, and I think it was a name, Mr. Copacetic. I can't find the chat, but I remember about what it was. But it was about us being, suddenly afraid of the Padres. I don't think it's so much that we're afraid of the Padres. I'm not scared of the Padres. I do worry a little bit about a short series in the postseason because we've seen that, kind of been there, done that. And if this team, if this current version of the Dodgers team is anything similar in October, well, chances are they're not making it. I don't think this team could sustain another 2 months with all of these injuries or whatever. But I think I'm going to use Cowabunga. This was earlier in the chat. Great name, great username on YouTube. Cowabunga said, I think I speak for every diehard Dodgers fan when I say I don't give a single fuck about losing the division. Shit, even better, give us that gritty wild card team for once. I don't care as well. Listen, been there, done that. The more divisions this team wins, the more we have to hear about how we're just this decade's, this whatever version of baseball's Atlanta Braves. I don't care.
I was just going to say.
Get me to the World Series. Get me some rings like Mookie Betts promises. That's where I'm at. Are you scared of this Padres team, though? I want to ask you, are you worried about the Padres and what they've done and the pieces that they've also locked up over the last couple of years? Is this something to be concerned about?
I think they're playing a very, very productive brand of baseball with a roster that they feel very confident in for the same reasons why we spoke about earlier. I know I see somebody saying it's a mistake to not be worried about them. They're playing a good brand. They show that they can go out, they can slug. They're playing small ball. They put Kershaw in an odd spot, sacrificed a run in, they're making baseball plays. And they've got two horses. Michael King has found a run right now. Dylan Cease is everything is advertised. So when you have that, that aura around your team.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
when you get,
as I say, at some point too, they're also going to probably get a Joe Musgrove back. They also could get a Yu Darvish back. So they got some pieces. Same with the Dodgers are going to get some bodies back. They have some that could be coming back as well. But anyways, continue.
Yeah. So short series, anything can happen. Mm-hmm. And I think people would be irresponsible just to say it's the Padres and they've Padres, but the Padres have made the Dodgers bow out. They've put the Dodgers in a spot where it's been embarrassing for the last 2 years for the Dodgers. Yeah. So it's at a point where the Dodgers have no business to overlook any team because they're a team that has to look at themselves and say, are we built to win? It's going to put on the stars. It's going to be the role players to make it happen because right now it's a roster where the Padres don't have as many question marks. You're talking about, it's usually in a spot where we hop on here shows here, Clint, and we interact with the chat and we're saying, why does this matter? We're debating the 12th, 13th guy in the roster, right? Right now, we're debating guys who are going to be starting every single day, and the Padres aren't really doing that. So they've positioned themselves. They'll go through lulls and they'll go through slumps, but I'd feel as a Padres fan, you feel pretty damn confident about your ball club for all the reasons we've listed. I'm not pushing them up to a spot where I'm saying they're unbeatable, but they're playing a brand of baseball where they've got thump, they've got small ball, they're playing to contact. Luis Ariz, like you've got guys on your team and you're not even with Fernando Tatis at the moment. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see for now what they're going to continue to do, and barring anything crazy, the Dodgers just have to now worry about themselves because I'm very thankful that was just a 2-game set in San Diego because their fans, they rise up. Dodgers gave them a sellout. And it's a depleted team the Dodgers are working with. But again, at the end of the day, a W is a W, a loss is a loss. Just hopefully for the fact that the Dodgers find a bill of health if you see him again in October.
Yeah, I mean, Padres, again, well, we'll give them the credit. They got some pieces. That offense can be pretty good. You're missing Tatis, but you still have Jackson Merrill. Could be a Rookie of the Year finalist this year in the National League. Jerickson Profar found something. Maybe he found Fernando's ringworm cream. I don't know. Manny could always do Manny, and Manny gets it up harder than anybody when he's playing against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yes, he does.
Xander Bogaerts Bogarts finding some stuff with the bat. Jake Cronenworth figuring some things out as a first baseman. Luis Camposano and whatever that stupid ass stance is. Like, they have some pieces there for sure, and they want nothing. They want more than anything else. They want to beat the Dodgers. That's like, that is their that is their rings, is beating the Dodgers. And then after that, what do we do from here? You know,
what do I do with my hands?
They don't beat the Phillies. They don't know, let's go goose or whatever. But that's what's in. But still, they're a very good ball club, and I think they're almost in the same voice. Not obviously nowhere near as good as the Phillies, but when it comes to competition in the National League, this Dodgers team needs to be looking at the Padres. They need to be looking at the Phillies, maybe less so than the Braves, but the Braves always find ways to figure some things out. But those are the main two clubs you're looking at in the National League that you need to be, along with whoever else you might face in the postseason, you need to be prepared to beat them if you want to get to that World Series. And if this team doesn't make the World Series, this is an embarrassment of a season. Or pieces did not come back, Mookie Betts re-injured, whatever it is, that would be how you don't make the World Series. But if you're healthy and you don't make it, it's an outright embarrassment. Pause for a second because my friend Richard Flores with the $9.99 Super Chat, thank you very much. Richie from Divorce says the Dodgers are the Padres' Viagra. Beating the Dodgers is the very blood that runs in their veins. The Dodgers treat themselves to Dodgers are the treat to themselves, not the Padres after the Dodger Stadium parking lot. Probably messed up the reading of that. But yeah, I had said on Monday's stream, get it up against the Padres before they get it up against you. Well, the Dodgers did, and then they forgot to keep scoring. It's kind of the situation there. But
you jumped on it. It's like I said, you're playing with a lot of guys who are trying to find themselves. They're just all trying to figure it out. They just, like, all of them have ice skates or, like shoes on an ice rink, and they're just all Bambi out there, and they have no footing. Way too many strikeouts. It's I'll say it. It's an embarrassing way to play. And you cannot go out there and have, I did an article today. I had the numbers. I wish I had them now, but I think since, oh my goodness, like the last 7 days, they have the highest strikeout rate in baseball as a unit. They're just not getting it done. They're not hitting the ball. They're not consistently making contact. So, but again, you look at who they're putting out there. I see people saying it's not an excuse, but it's got to be. Excuses don't, win you games unless it works for you. But the Dodgers are at a spot where you're just still playing with the same roster that lost you some games and had the drop off after the 5th spot in the lineup. You have Gavin Lux as your 3 hitter. And if he's going to succeed, that's not saying it's a bad thing for him, but it just shows that where's the beef? Where's the bulk, in the top of the lineup? Where is it towards the bottom half? Where are those platoon guys that we're so used to having? Okay, righties on the mound, Jason Hayward, you're out there. Lefties on the mound, who you going to trust? So now they brought these pieces in to essentially raise the floor and give them a little bit less of question marks because there's just so many right now. And you can't sell me on the fact that you're going to say, Kike's going to figure it out. Outman's figuring it out. Kevin Biggio's a long-term answer. And from there, and they just got exposed against a Padres team that has a plan right now. They're all up there playing motivated. They're staring up and they all know what their job is. And they've got something cooking. They've got pitchers who are limiting runs. They've got a bullpen they feel confident in. And the Dodgers have questions in their lineup, questions in their rotation, questions in their bullpen, and they still in first place. So you have a softball, it's not, the A's aren't a softball thing. They've been hitting right now. They've got some hitters. Lawrence Butler's been playing out of his mind. Brent Rooker, absolutely. JJ Bleday. So they're not a walk in the park, dude. No. So the Dodgers got to get you, and then you play the Phillies. You look ahead, then you play the Phillies at home for 3. Pirates still playing in a division. So, and then you get the Brewers. So you look ahead of the schedule, guys, like the Dodgers have to find health while finding themselves. So they've got some work to do. Otherwise, absolutely, you can see the division slip away just as fast as they had that 9.5 game lead earlier in July.
Yeah,
so it looks worse right now than it did. So they've got to find some pluses, and I know it kind of contradicts a lot of what I said. That said, you've got to be patient, or you've got to be reasonably optimistic. Yeah, but my reasons are hold on until they get healthy and let the front office start to say, okay, this is our plan going forward. This are the pieces that we can find some familiarity, find some regular lineups, and not have to worry about, can Kike hit a righty today? Can James Outman not be terrible today? because that's not the Dodgers brand of ball. And I think they're forgetting what the Dodgers brand of baseball has been for the last, under Andrew Freeman's tenure.
Yeah, it's the brand of baseball we have right now, but it's not what they want to run out there, and it's not what they will be running out there again. We got Mookie Betts coming back. I said this earlier in Dodgers territory. I think Mookie needs to be – he's kind of like he's always an X factor. He's always a spark plug. Having him back, whether he's hitting 1 or 2, helps us line up, because I will say, we talked a little bit about Will Smith. Will Smith is hitting out of place in that 2-hole, but I think Mookie needs to be extremely open to playing anywhere and everywhere this team needs. He can give them a superstar or star level talent at just about every position if and when they need it. He can't come back as just the shortstop. He can't come back as just a second baseman, because obviously Gavin Lux threw a wrench into that. Maybe center field is gone if Kevin Kiermaier finds, even what he did last year with the Blue Jays, where I think he had a 741 OPS or something like that. Along with that Gold Glove defense, you're good. We know there's 2 untouchables. 3, I guess we'll say, when it comes to this lineup. It's always going to be Will Smith, even though now he's a bit of a question, but it's Teoscar Hernandez, and by the way, where's that extension? And it's Freddie Freeman when his family isn't coming first. But Mookie Betts needs to be open to bouncing around, moving around. We don't need to dive too much into that. There's a lot to explore there. I wanted to ask you one quick thing with Jack Flaherty, because we talked earlier today about the Flaherty expectations. Dodgers fans know some about this kid. They don't know a whole lot, but is this an honest to God frontline guy, or is he just playing above the numbers right now, or above
the
his
real deal?
Talent?
He's been a real deal. Since he's been in, when this season, it'd be different if there were underlying numbers where I'd say, okay, Clint, we got a guy who the ERA looks good, and it just on the surface level, it looks fine, but the underlying metrics love him. His FIP's in a spot where it's beautiful. He's doing stuff himself. 32% strikeout rate is on track to be the absolute best number of his career. If he had about 4 more innings on his season, he'd have the 3rd best expected FIP in all of Major League Baseball. He has a 27.5 strikeout to walk, 2nd in Major League Baseball. He's found an improved command. His fastball's been great, but an improved command on his secondary stuff. And he's doing it on a Padres team, or not a Padres team, a Tigers team, where a lot of people, you tune in sometimes and you're like, how you doing it? It's just like the thought process of Eric Fetty. It's I think he accounted for, I think, a 1/3 of their wins. Or half their wins almost.
That's tough.
So it's I believe in Jack Flaherty. There's a reason why he was the consensus. If Crochet wasn't there, Screwball was never an option, the number 1 arm on the market. And the Dodgers, a lot of people feel, and a lot of analysts feel, that they didn't get him for as much as he could have gone. So the Dodgers made out in that deal. He's in a good spot. His back is in a great place. He had some back injections, and sure, there's a reason to, pause about anything with, back and athletes. But Ken Rosenthal reported early on in free agent or the trade deadline spot that teams were weren't shying away at all. And I'm super bummed for him about, whoever leaked that info about him, whether it was the Yankees, whether it was the Tigers, about, his medicals.
But there's a reason why. Yankees.
Yeah, there's a reason why the Dodgers stayed in on that. And he's a local kid, 818. Let's get, I love what he's going to bring to the team. Pound the zone, brother. Just pound the strike zone, go out there and don't dink and dunk. And he's had that success. And he's only, I think, missed 2 starts all year. And that's a horse. So let's keep him there. Let's lock him in.
Yeah, what this team needed. Anytime this team can go out and get the best available talent, the best available arm, that's what you're looking for, because we knew we needed it. I don't think you can bank on anything from Walker Buehler. I don't bank on anything out of Bobby Miller unless he moves to the bullpen and becomes like a 1-inning guy just for this season. But that's where I'm at. By the way, Clayton Lockhart just joined us, and he smashed that like button. You guys should smash that like button, too. I haven't done any of the YouTube-y things I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just enjoying talking ball with our guy, Scott Geirman here. And I'll let you go real soon, because if you guys are looking for more Scotty, by the way, he's going to be live again, Dodger Blue, 8 p.m. Pacific time tonight. So we'll let him get out of here soon enough to rest up. But we got to do grades, because that's our whole thing. Kind of not the whole thing. The whole thing is talking about the Dodgers. But I like ending this with grades talk. just because, again, we're trying to stream this thing together where we can look and hopefully maybe tell a story of the season just by looking at our grades and being like, oh yeah, you remember July? I don't want to ever remember July. But
Yeah.
I'm going to fire off my rotation grade. You guys aren't going to be surprised by my rotation grade for the month of July. It's just a C. The only reason I'm actually up to a C is because I loved what we saw from Robleski and River Ryan, but Glasnow was mostly mid when he was healthy. Stone slipping, like we already talked a good amount here. But again, getting those first looks at Robleski and River Ryan, that's exciting stuff to me. Like that, knowing that those guys are there and are weapons for whatever this team might need in October. Because they're around. They're not going anywhere. I just said it. Bueller's not going to be around. Don't bank on anything from Bobby Miller this one. But they slipped. They were, I think I had them at a B- last month or something like that. And that was even after losing Yamamoto. So that's where I'm at rotation-wise. You have a letter grade for this Dodgers rotation in what is it, July? July. There it is.
Let's see, man. I mean, it was a really rough go for them. They stepped back. I'm going to say a D. They had some of the worst numbers across Major League Baseball. I didn't like a lot of anything I saw from them. They allowed, let's see, a 263 batting average to opposing hitters. Their whip was in a spot that I'm just not okay with. It was almost 1.5, 1.46. There wasn't a lot to like. There really wasn't a lot to like. They're finding it. They're trying to find themselves. So let's see. I'm trying to pull up what their WOBA they allowed was. It was they were on. Let's see.
Kenny Chung says that the July grade is shit show.
Third worst WOBA in the league. So you're talking along the lines of dealing with them. The Marlins, the Rockies, and surprisingly enough, the Yankees are down there. So that's where you saw them kind of fall a little bit. So I got to say a D. And the only reason it's not an F is because to the reasons you said about the rookies, and I see a lot of promise there. People do F off the rookies, so it's just I'm keeping it there just because I have to give them something. They're showing me a year where I think for rookies wise and second year guys like Gavin Stone, where it might be the best I've seen in some time. Like it might not have the clear number one, but there's enough bright flashes from some of these kids where I'm like, damn man, Landon Knack, Robo, River Ryan, Gavin Stone. We're seeing some projectability here, and it might make the Dodgers front office say, okay, we're okay.
River Ryan is, I'm telling you, man, that's the dude I am the most excited about. I think you can see him doing just about anything important for this club in October, but it's up to them to make that decision to be like, hey, in September, we're moving you into a bullpen role or even a hybrid role. If he's somebody who's going to be a 4-inning guy, a 3-inning guy, a 2-inning guy, or just give us everything you have for 3 outs. That goes a long way. Also goes a long way, a $10 super chat from our friend Bedan Coz. I always never know if I'm saying it right, but I'm going Bedan Coz. Anyways, $10 for the beer fund. I appreciate you, my friend. $10 goes a long way to that beer fund. I do need to replenish the all Dodgers fridge here at the house. Bullpen. I don't think I'm going to be frightening anybody when I say it was a big fat F for me in the month of July. What's funny is you look back, if you watch this edition we did 1 month ago, I had an A- for the bullpen in June. And I had mentioned like so many guys overperformed that month. But I will say, as we've kind of, been the whole running theme of this episode, help is on the way in the bullpen, whether it's Brazier, Grove, Brusar, Gratterall, or in these guys, the kids, the Robleskis, the Landon Knacks, the River Ryan. Help is on the way. Help is around. Help is available. But still, the product, it's a big fat F.
And it's an interesting thing for us too, because man, we've done these, each month and the roller coaster of it and then looking at the health. And it's just been so funny because early on, I remember speaking with you guys and saying, hey, I like the bullpen. I'm confident in the bullpen. They're just the main reasons why it was, hey, you've got a lot of older arms here. And that's what can go wrong with it. It's that if the veteran guys start to falter, they get fatigued and, who could see that your star closer, Evan Phillips can't figure it out. Blake Trinan, who knows what it is? Daniel Hudson, same thing. Vesey is a worry. It's just a couple question marks where it gives me that F. Second most earned runs allowed in the month. They allowed almost a 300 batting averages a unit, 289. So it's just too many balls in play. Too many balls in play.
Couple comments.
And it's just they need to figure out some bats there. And the number one slugging percentage allowed, 503 in all of Major League Baseball. So you can't allow people to come in. And again, a lot of that, might have been Yohan Ramirez and guys who aren't here anymore. And Ryan Yarbrough for those stretches. So it's just about finding who's going to stick and making it your way through the season. This was just one of those where those innings eaters, those guys that you just need to fill a spot, all collectively had their worst month, while the veteran guys are kind of showing their, the cracks in the armor.
Yeah, Alana and I talked earlier today about, hitting is contagious, but also bad pitching is contagious. All of that can kind of spiral. You don't necessarily have like that a stopper in your bullpen the way you might in a starting rotation, and then every little thing that could go wrong did go wrong. Jorge Romero, our friend Jorge, what's going on? Mr. Dinger saying Banda and Honeywell, the only bullpen arms that he trusts right now, and I kind of agree with that. Like, we're talking about Friedman's ability to kind of build this team out. Tony Stark built it in the cave with a box of scraps. That's usually what these bullpens kind of are, and that's what Banda is, and that's what somebody like Honeywell, who I think he gave up his first run, but still he's been nice. He's been a very nice change of pace from somebody like Yarbrough, who you mentioned, but still they need help. They also need a little bit of a nap right now. Neil Casamoto also said Banda the only bright spot in the bullpen right now. I kind of got to agree with that because there's been a lot of struggle. Also, Badan Coase dropped I think 2 more $10 super chats. Thank you very much. One says more beer, and the other one said, where'd you go? I think I saw one asking Diane, can you adopt him? So things are getting a little wild in the chat there. Elisheva Jones giving some love to Michael Kopech. I'm assuming, we talked a little bit about it real quick. Super fast. You liked outing one. I know we already talked about it. You liked outing one out of Kopech. Like, I was somebody, I looked at the numbers. I kind of looked at some of the peripherals. I was like, yeah, he throws really hard, but I was looking at him like, is this a Wish.com, Noah Syndergaard or something like that? Because it's kind of giving that. Is this somebody I really should be excited about?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
All right.
Absolutely. He's for anybody who's a savant darling, and I know a lot of people like that. There's going to be a lot to like there. The Dodgers have to clean up some of the walk issues that he had, but it's a live arm. It's a live arm. He continued with what he's done recently. It's his last 6 outings. He hasn't allowed a hit, or not a hit. He hasn't allowed a run. I think he's allowed 1 hit over that, and I think 12 strikeouts in his last 6 outings. So, joins right in. There's not much to tweak with a guy who can throw triple digits with ease, but certainly you get him comfortable in there. Hopefully he can work with Will Smith and not have him erupt his pitch mix. And just like we've seen sometimes, Will Smith gets so fastball happy, gets into some tough spots. That will be studied after the year. I will sit down in a dark room and watch a lot of tape and figure that out. But Michael Kopech is somebody who can slot in at the back end, and it would be different. Like, I don't know how much you believe in this, and that's, Michael Kopech, if he becomes the guy, like saying, hey, you're the closer now from joining a brand new rotation or brand new reliever core that has some guys in there who have done it before. Daniel Hudson going to get a lot of cracks there. Evan Phillips, we'll see if he rebounds. Blake Trinan, I feel like has kind of pitched himself not out of that spot, but as for now, at the very least, until they figure him out. Vesia's had a big downtick in velocity across the board. So if he becomes the guy, purely based on that he's got the absolute number one stuff out there because he's electric, one of the best arms in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, stuff is nasty. You mentioned the Will Smith thing. That is something I kind of had in the back of my brain. We're definitely not getting into it now, but I wonder if some of the issues in the bullpen is also kind of some pitch choices. Somebody like Evan Phillips becoming very, very you know what's coming. You know what's coming with some of these guys, and I think that's become a problem. Infield, C. I think I was a C also in July. The only reason it kind of stayed, despite the fact that you lose Miguel Rojas during it, is that the ascension, the rise of my guy, lifelong Gavin Lux truther here. Luxy figuring it out, putting the pieces together, realizing that he needs to stop giving a shit about his knee and just letting it eat. First 81 games, by the way, for Gavin Lux, 200 with a 580 OPS from game 82 onward. So it's not just All-Star break. It's not just him talking to his uncle. It's kind of been there. But game 82 onward, 274 with an 842 OPS. It's 28 games, and then also what he's done just since the All-Star break has been insane. So Luxy kind of bringing that overall grade back up to a C, but still no Mookie. You know, Freddie was solid. Didn't have a Freddie month even when he was out there. But still, the Biggio experience, you know, I actually haven't even looked in the numbers. I've just been so on hating Biggio. I haven't really cared about going out and looking that, hey, he's actually provided a little bit of value. But, you know, Will Smith being lost, all of that kind of combines to a C for me.
Yeah, they were middle of the pack, you know, first base, second base, third base short. They were middle of the pack, kind of an OPS this past month, 736. WRC plus was above league average, 111 as a unit. So I feel like they did enough where I can give them a B minus. With what they're working with, I have to account for it. With what they're working with, they were not the reason. That I think it's a lot falls within the outfield. A lot falls with, you know, Will Smith being a league average guy, you know, just being a 100 WRC plus guy in the month. They need, with the guys out, you need them to be above average players. So Andy Paez, downward trend. James Outman, when he was up, downward trend. Jason Hayward, same thing. So Miguel Vargas had that, you know, he's had that fall off, and now he's with the White Sox, and still tough go there. So wish the best to him. But I've just got to give the infield a B minus for what they've had to work with. It's just they're running on fumes, but they had a plus month all as a unit. And a lot comes from Gavin Lux being absolutely nuts. So shout out to him for carrying a big load out there. Absolutely, Gavin. Make me a believer, man.
It's my best friend. You know, through all of the turmoil and all the ups and downs in mine and Gavin's relationship, he added me as a friend this week on Twitter. So that's where you know it's real. But hey, I've never been a staunch hater. I just calls it like I sees it, and you know what? I think he finally saw some things too. Like he's very open. I think he spoke with media. Bill Plunkett dropped a great article today. And Luxy expanded on a lot of the things he talked to me and Alana about on Dodgers territory from last week. You know, just kind of tired of the same thing over and over, tired of just rolling out to second base. So appreciate Luxy kind of you know,
getting real
with himself. It's like, listen, if I want to keep my job, it's time to do something about this. Outfield. Some guys in the outfield probably aren't keeping their jobs, but I got a C minus in the outfield. The only saving grace is Teoscar. It's up. I think that's up from, no, I had a C plus, so I'm down. I had a C plus in June. But they just plainly need to be better, and we need to see how it all shapes up with the additions they brought in. But what's your outfield grade?
Oh man, I think I'm gonna go. What'd you say right there?
I got a C minus.
Got a C minus. I'm gonna stick right there with you. They were among the bottom 10 unit, 24th in the league, WRC plus wise. So Teoscar is doing a lot of heavy lifting out there, man. All the heavy lifting. Yeah. So there's a reason why they went out and got a couple options that can play outfield. Mm-hmm. You know, there's just a reason for it. And there's a reason why Miguel Vargas, it's no longer a part of that equation, because he was a negative addition to left field. I don't believe James Outman is a part of the long-term plans this year. Jason Hayward, I like what he brings as a platoon guy in the right spots when he's not having to play all the time. Bench guy as well. They need those guys who have had those spots that you're not striking out so much, and you can't have any hitter up there where you're saying he's either running into one or he's striking out, and the strikeout is about 80% of the time, which is what it is with James Outman right now. You've just got to eliminate the bottom barrel floor in the outfield right now. In the month of July was at a floor that's not good.
Yeah, and again, defensively too, I love the additions just because it makes that outfield that much better. I think having Miguel Vargas next to Andy Paez in center, they made each other worse at times, and the eye test told us that when we were watching some of those. I saw a great one right here. Cole asking, why haven't they extended Teoscar Hernandez yet? Well, they were busy at the deadline, but if something doesn't happen, do you think they actually, Freeman isn't very big on working these in-season contracts, but we did have one with Will Smith just a few months ago. Do you think they would actually extend Teo during the season, or is this going to go to the to free agency?
I think a lot lies that if they're actually, this is gonna be crazy to say, a lot of it lies in if are they gonna actually get wild and make a run at Juan Soto.
Oh,
I think a lot of that matters because we're talking you might get 45 AAV with Juan Soto. And I know they have the cap in there, and it sounds ridiculous to talk about. But until it's ruled out, like generational players don't come around very often. I know.
And we know this organization is in on everybody. They were in on Bryce Harper when he was available. If Soto is willing to come to their market and do like the high AAV short term,
I don't think so, though.
50?
This is the deal for him.
Yeah,
he's at the thing. So, again, I'll just, for the sake of addressing Teoscar, because I tweet out all the time, they just got to extend him. Yeah, Monster, I know. Then half a bill for Soto, he'd be the hitter. That'd be the one where that's the guy. But for Teoscar-wise, I think for a guy of his hitter profile, knowing that they got him on a 1-year deal, I think they're going to extend the qualifying offer to him. I think they'll do that with Teoscar because the Mariners didn't do that. So I think they're going to go that route and live with the pick if that's the case, and they'll deal with it then. And that's just a very Dodgers move, and they'll just shrug your shoulders and you go to a different option there and deal with what you have in free agency. So I think they'll go the qualifying offer route. And I think that's what the Dodgers ultimately go with. And that'll be a tough thing for me because Teoscar is just that 1-year guy. You fit right in and you're like, damn, man, this guy's a Dodger.
He needs to be a Dodger. I'll cap the Soto talk by saying, why not both? Pika Peep said Soto. What did he say again right now? I missed it. Soto just doesn't see Soto fitting in as a Dodger. I mean, he definitely has a different gameplay style. It could have some baggage, but if you got enough veterans around you, Soto had to grow up pretty early in his career, even with some of the guys that were there in Washington when he came up. He still had to kind of grow up and be like the man a little too early. Maybe. That's just kind of my opinion on it. What did I see? I saw, there it is, a super chat, $4.99 super chat from Matthew. I'm going to say Matthew. Via Real, is that what it is? There we go, because it blocked off for some reason here on my chat. But it's talking about Manny Machado. Matthew saying Machado haunts again. I think we can't sleep on the Padres anymore. They are dangerous. And Kopech pitched to the bottom of the order. Little less love there for Kopech, apparently. But we talked a lot of Padres earlier. Padres, they could be for real. What we thought they were going to be the last couple of years, they could be in reality. They could be a real ball club to contend with. GI says hard pass on Soto. We'll see. Hey, again, this team does not have a lot of outfield help coming up. So quickly, moving on. I do want to get you out of here, guys. If you want more, this guy's going to be live in 35 minutes. So my bad. I got to get you some time to rest your voice. But DH, super simple. A- for me with your DH because it's just Shohei Ohtani. He was an A in June. I think he wasn't on another planet this month. That's the only reason he lost a half of a grade. He continues to impress. He continues to be solid, but he didn't go in Super Saiyan mode in July.
I agree with you. Yeah, he's still July was an insane month for him. Yeah. I just got to go an A. Yeah, he's doing the heavy lifting out there.
He still had a 1 dot in that leadoff spot. So he's good.
He's doing heavy lifting, everything. Yeah. He's been the anchor. So
absolutely.
Shout out to Shohei, showing the wheels big time. Dino Ebo and him need to get on the same page sometimes, but he's showing the wheels out there. So, Shohei's doing a ton. So
on the wheels, man.
Otherwise,
sneaky with them stolen bases. Career high. Was he at 28 now? 27?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
It's fun to watch him. Could be a 40-40 guy. Could be our first 40-40 guy in quite some time. I think ever. I forget if we did have one. I know Matt Kemp was chasing for one. Last one, we got to talk bench. Last month I said D. This month I said D. And I said fix this. And they did. Hopefully they did. We'll see. We'll see how the grades kind of shape up over the course of August as guys come back and really the pieces that should be on the bench slide to the bench. But what's your grade?
I'm going F just because I'm valid. Andrew Freeman in the front office validated me, and Dave Roberts has used my saying that I've been talking all things. So I'm going F because they addressed that absolutely, and they understood that the floor was so low. It's something that's unsustainable. You can't have guys where you go up and you're failing more than you're succeeding, to a point where it's detrimental to the offense, where it's like the second you get past the fourth or fifth spot in the lineup, just tanks. So it's not the same where you're like, okay, well, we've got him. He's, playing at like an 80, slightly below league average. Now, 90 WRC plus, Tommy Edman level, where I'm pretty confident that he's going to do something. Yeah. There was no confidence in there. And if they had a game, they had a game, but it wasn't two guys having a night. It was a blowout performance where that's where you saw it happen. So they found hopefully some consistency. Guys who have been doing it on other teams, bring them in. Rosario, Kiermaier is going to be a glove guy. And that just allows you to bring everybody else up. And I think that's exactly where they went to. So Andrew Freeman validated me. Brandon Gomes, for all the speak they had, they said we're looking for some impact. They got impact in Flaherty. They got impact by overhauling essentially their bench, and hopefully they're whittling down the options.
Hey guys, F in the chat for the F bench, and we'll give some flowers here to Scott for them listening, the front office listening to our guy Scott. Hey Scotty, I appreciate you as always, man. This is fun, always fun talking baseball with you, fun talking Dodgers. If we don't do it again, we'll do it in a month, but if not sooner, hopefully we'll figure something out, either here or DT. But guys, that is of course the great, you see it on the chat there, you see it on the screen, Scott Geirman. Make sure you follow him on social media, and he will be live in about 30 minutes on Dodger Blue. So continue the conversation with him over there. I'll be hanging out here for another 10 minutes or so while he gets out of here, but appreciate you, bud, and we'll talk again soon.
You got it, buddy. We'll talk soon. Later, man. Later, guys.
Take it easy. So, guys, appreciate you hanging out so far. I love this comment also earlier. Where did it go? Knott's Haunt Talent said, what bench? Our main roster is the bench, and that's kind of definitely been one of the bigger parts of the problem for this team, for this organization. It's been tough. It's been very, very painful, the bench not working out all that hot. But, guys, drop into the comments a little bit more. We'll hang out for a little bit. I still do got to look ahead. I want to look ahead to the series with the Oakland Athletics. Don't sleep on the A's. Don't sleep on any organization right now, any opponent, because this Dodgers team has been struggling so damn much. John Bleeding Blue with a $2 super chat. Thank you very much, John. John asking, where does Roberts play Ahmed Rosario? That is a fantastic question, because I don't know. I looked at Rosario. I think they need to find somebody they can plug into third base and just kind of leave him there. I do have a worry that he becomes the platoon partner for Lux at second base, and him kind of getting in there against lefties. Lux probably shouldn't be playing against lefties yet, and also the team just needs to find ways to get some bats in there. So Lux might suffer just because of a poor first half of the season. He might have to suffer, bite the bullet, and get benched and be in that platoon role. But that's fine. If he's doing so well, we're in a good spot with him, I would say. Ederico asking, is the Flaherty deal a sign that the Dodgers are done with Buehler? If it is, hey, come back here. I saw that. IB Strokin making sure that I saw the Ederico, but IB Strokin drops a $2 chat to make sure I read the Ederico comment. So appreciate you helping out, IB Strokin, because obviously when you super chat, it makes like a green light in the chat, and I am able to see it, or a little light. But is the Flaherty thing a sign the Dodgers are done with Buehler? I don't think they want to be done with Buehler. I think Buehler's just kind of done. That's where I'm at. I think Walker is... Do not count on him. If he figures something out, hell yeah, that is awesome. You find a way to work him into the rotation or work him into the pitching plan. But I think they have seen nothing. They have not seen enough good out of Buehler. I don't think they've seen enough strides forward. The fact that they were able to they let him walk and let him go away and on his little spirit quest to try to figure out something mechanically or whatever it is. I think it is an honest, true sign. The Flaherty deal is more about Buehler and Miller than it is about Yamamoto. That is what I'll say. So, good question. Good question. There's a fair chance. There's a reasonable chance. We may have already seen the last of Walker Buehler in Dodger Blue. Chances are he does come back, make it, get a couple opportunities to still start and prove something before he ends up going on the IL if he can't figure it out. But Buehler, he was one of my X factors for the season. just did not work out for him, and it sucks pretty bad. Kenny Chung wants to see Rosario at third base. I mean, he's played some third base this year. He's played a little short. He's played some right. He's played all over. I think Rosario, if you're able to plug him in there, he's got enough of an arm playing shortstop for so much of his career. If you can get him to plug in at third, and if and when Max comes back, you kind of then you start addressing that conversation or that issue. It's like if Ahmed Rosario is playing good, maybe Max doesn't find his way to slot in back into the roster. But of course, Max Muncy is a guy who can, when he's healthy, drop you 35 easy bombs. So you just create more of these good problems to have. And like we said, a whole bunch, raising the floor of this roster, which you want to have better pieces just laying around more than a lot of Kike Hernandez's and Kevin Biggio's hanging around. Let's see what else we got. There was another. I appreciate the super chat. I'm not going to read any politics things on there, but Matthew, I appreciate the super chat. I will give you the gong, but essentially just saying Dave Roberts is a puppet. Some people have that opinion for sure. I think Dave sometimes gets hamstrung by the by the roster that he has. That said, he has this job very clearly because he can, I don't want to say fall in line, but he works very well with his bosses. He works very well with Andrew Freeman, with Brandon Gomes, with the rest of the front office think tank. They come up with a game plan. They try to script out, a game plan for these pitchers as much as they can. And, he has his own autonomy. He does get to say who goes into a game when it comes to where they're pitching and all of this kind of stuff. But, it's not him blindly, he's not being fed lines on what to say. He's not on a tape delay to watch to make the game or make decisions in a game. And I implore you, I think I even asked Alana Rizzo this earlier on Dodgers territory or brought it up, like who would be the better manager? Who would be the better manager for this team than Dave Roberts? I'm not blind to Dave Roberts' struggles. I think he's made some horrible decisions, even as recently as the Wroblewski one. I would have given Wroblewski one more batter in that situation, but going back to Kershaw in 2019, going back to Rich Hill in 2018, some of those decisions trying to make Kenley Jansen a thing in the 2020 World Series, and thankfully he bailed on that. But he makes more. I would argue as he's grown now in year 9 as a Dodgers manager, he's grown a lot and he's made better decisions now than he did earlier. And those are mostly his decisions. So Dave, every manager is some semblance of a puppet these days, if we're just being lazy with our choice of words. But I would say Dave's a good puppet. He's Kermit. What a weird one. What a weird one for that one there, guys. Did our friend, let's see, but Dan Coes, let's go. Gifted memberships to the channel, 5 memberships. Thank you very much, guys. If you don't know, if you're looking for a different way to support this channel, beyond hitting that subscribe button, which I would very much appreciate if you hit the subscribe button, hit the like on every video you watch from the channel, goes a long way. But also, if you're looking for different ways, you can support on YouTube members. You can support on patreon.com/realfrg. It's $5 a month for YouTube or for Patreon. You also get access to our Discord server where we have a bunch of conversations. I get some ideas from the chat in there, but there's a bunch of people having conversations in there about this team basically all day long. And I would argue 8 to 9 times out of 10, they're totally in reality and they're totally good conversations. And then other times we're complaining and losing our minds about decisions Dave Roberts made. So it's fun. Check it out. Again, patreon.com/realfrg, or just click the button that says join. It's somewhere by my brain here. We should move on. We should talk about the series coming up. Scotty and I talked about it a little bit, talking about them Oakland A's, but the Dodgers are facing the A's. We're going to see the Dodgers start to the storylines. Let's talk about the storylines. Let me step it back for a second. Storylines for this series, we start to see the new guys getting into the mix. One of the new guys is the old guy. We already talked about Ahmed Rosario. Where does he play? We will not see Tommy Edman immediately. He's still injured. He's still on his rehab assignment as he comes back from a wrist and then an ankle injury. But will Kevin Kiermaier get in there? Where are they going to play him? It should be in center field, especially at O.co, because there's a lot of room out there in Oakland. And the big one, the big thing we get to see is Jack Flaherty getting that start on Saturday. I'm very excited to see him. I don't know if I'm more excited to see Jack Flaherty, honestly, or to see River Ryan on Sunday. But we got a good matchup here. Gavin Stone does take the ball on Friday. Stone, it's a new month. He's got to get back on track just like everybody else. Reset. This is a reset. You're out of the month of July. Just make sure. I think one of the other storylines, as I step back a little bit, one of the other storylines for this team heading into this series and heading into August is this is a roster reset, and everybody in that room, everybody in that clubhouse, they need to understand that there is a competition. There's a serious competition underway now on this active roster. Nobody's job is safe. Nobody's role, nobody is guaranteed a roster spot in October. You have to fucking earn it. Every single one of them needs to earn it. So that starts with somebody like Gavin Stone, who faces Joey Estes. I know nothing about these Oakland A's pitchers, by the way. I just wrote out their names so I would know them. But Jack Flaherty, again, gets game 2 against Mitch Spence. That's a firm name right there. I could see that guy being like in accounting on like the 23rd floor or something like that. Then River Ryan gets the ball, hopefully for a Dodger sweep in Oakland. He faces Osvaldo Bido. I don't know how to say it, but that's what it looks like. Bido. So your final not so hot take for this series is put the month of July behind you. You have new bodies, you have new pieces. You're not playing the Padres. You're playing a team that means nothing to you. You're going to Oakland for the last time in its existence. So have some fun out there and get back on track. That's where we're at. I think that's probably about it. Let me find one more comment to get us out of here. I'm gonna go with Ice Kangs 817. I'm gonna give you a bike bell, because that was the button that made the most sense. Talking about Gavin Stone, Ice King says, yeah, Stone got to keep playing with the chip on his shoulder, not be satisfied with what he did in the first half. Great point. That's a really, really freaking good point. Like, all of this team really shouldn't be ever resting on its laurels, but somebody like Stone, who meant so much to this ball club in the first half, I've said time and time again, I think he was the most important pitcher on this team. I will add an asterisk, I will add an addendum, and I'll say it's in the second half. In the first half. But he's got to make himself remain important, remain relevant, because what we see tomorrow with Yoshinobu Yamamoto will kind of spell a potential future for Gavin Stone, because he might not be one of the 4 best guys in that rotation when it comes to October. So we'll watch him tomorrow. That's the plan. All of us will watch him tomorrow. I might be around this weekend and do a post game. I might not. We got a party here at the house on Saturday, so maybe I'll be drunk and hanging out, and maybe I'll be hungover on Sunday. But I will be back here for sure on Monday. We'll be bringing back Monday overreactions. I am going to be most likely opening the phone line for anybody and everybody to call, the voicemail hotline, as long as everybody's kind and respectable and respectful of each other and my ears having to listen to these voicemails. But before we get out of here, Ice Kings, thank you very much. $20 super chat. Appreciate the hell out of you, saying thank you and thank you. No, thank you for watching, hanging out here. Appreciate that a whole lot. I don't know what happened there. Pika Peep said Casey Porter at Dodgers Daily stabbed him in the back. I don't know how I trust Casey. I like Casey. He's a good dude. Maybe there's just a bit of misunderstanding. But Guys, that's about it. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate the hell out of you guys hanging out with us, being here. This show is here for you guys. I'm just hosting it, as Doug might have said back in the day, my boy. But shout out to everybody for hanging out in the chat. Shout out to my boy Scotty Geirman for hanging out, pulling a double dipper day. I've done plenty of those with Dodgers territory and this show so far this season. So guys, make sure you hang out with Scott. He's going to be live in about 20 minutes over at the Dodger Blue YouTube channel. Always good stuff with him. I don't know who's doing the show. I think he said he's doing the show tonight with Blake. So Blake apparently not going to the driving range tonight. How very kind of him. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you so damn much for the questions, the comments, hanging out in the chat, keeping the conversation going. I think we got over 1,200 comments here on the show so far tonight. People who happen to be watching on the Twitter side of things, appreciate you guys as well. If you want to jump into the conversation, make sure you come and hang out here on YouTube. It's where I can best see your comments because you don't need to pay to comment on the show. I'll say it again. If you're looking for a different way to support the channel outside of subscribing, which you should subscribe, again, that goes a very, very long way. But if not, $5 a month on Patreon or $5 a month here on YouTube helps out the channel more than you can imagine. It also gets you access to our Discord server where we keep having conversations throughout the day, talking Dodger baseball, and I talk to you guys hopefully as much as I can there on Discord. So check that out, patreon.com/realfrg. There's links in the description on that, and again, or the join button here on the channel. I do want to thank our people who are already supporting the channel. You guys are amazing. I actually want to start like a little crawler thing that says your names. I want people to get some love and appreciation, even if it's just a little visual there. So thank you guys for helping support the channel. You keep the lights on for sure. Shout out to the mods. Moderators in this chat do an incredible job at keeping this a good chat. As Pika Peep said, nice chat, Clint. Big breeze in the chat is good because of our great moderators, so shout out to them. All Dodgers is presented by Bet Online. Use that promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, get that 50% welcome bonus. I am Real FRG on all of the social media things. Follow me there if you want. If you don't, that's cool. All those links are in the description. Hopefully we earned a thumbs up on the way out. Hopefully we earned a subscribe on the way out. I'll see you on the next one of these things. So, okay, bye.